Hey guys, Young Skeptic here, and today we are going to talk about three myths that atheists believe, apparently. So let's get straight into this. I was given this pamphlet by Jehovah's Witness about a month ago, and I started to skim through it. I myself am an atheist, but I am open to all ideas and criticism. The overall pamphlet, though, was very science based, not in the sense that it is factual, but that it attempts to prove God and disprove the Big Bang Theory and the theory of evolution with science. It has a lot to talk about, and if I were to talk about everything, it would be a very, very long video. So today I will only talk about the section titled Evolution Myths and Facts and break down some of their arguments. They make many logical fallacies that I will point out when we get there. They also strawman evidence so to better disprove the theory of evolution. So enough talk, let's get straight into them. Myth 1 says, mutations provide the raw material needed to create new species. So let me start by explaining what a mutation's role is in the evolutionary process. A mutation, for the most part, is random. Sometimes external pressures such as radiation can cause mutations, or an organism can be genetically predisposed to have a mutation, but they are for the most part random. A mutation can either do one of three things. It can hurt the species, be indifferent to the species, or help the species thrive. If it hurts the species can potentially die off. It will be unable to reproduce. If the species happens to reproduce, the offspring will be less and also contain the same hurtful mutations. And at some point, natural selection will kill off the gene. Now, if the mutation is helpful, the species will thrive and reproduce, having more offspring, and the offspring will also have the same helpful mutation, increasing the mutation in that gene pool. You can find really specific examples that really happened and have been observed. I will link below to an article that talks about 5 examples of gene evolution. Now, what struck me as very academically dishonest in their part is the fact that they talk about a geneticist by the name of Wolf Eckhart that claims that evolution is not true. This is an obvious appeal to authority, and is faulty because this does not take into account the 90% or so scientists that accept evolution as true. They are essentially cherry picking which scientists they want to listen to. I will also link below a podcast in which he talks about the faults of evolution, and a commenter in that video perfectly summed up why this argument from authority doesn't stand. A confirmation bias is when you ignore the fact that 95% of scientists accept the theory of evolution and present only scientists who seem to agree with your religious views. This same confirmation bias ignores the fact that discrediting the theory of evolution does absolutely nothing to prove the existence of God. The attempt fails because it is based on a false dichotomy fallacy. And it's true. Evolution has been researched for decades and has been experimented upon. Multiple fields of study support the theory, and some fields, such as embryology, would be very different and depend on the notion that evolution is fact. But all that aside, even if evolution one day were to be proven false, that doesn't mean the God hypothesis is true. But let's move on to myth number 2. Natural selection led to the creation of new species. This very much goes hand in hand with the previous myth, because natural selection, like mutations, is a mechanism that evolution uses. These two myths are very similar, both challenge the same concept of evolution, and much of the arguments made for the first myth can be also used for this one. Not only are they both mechanisms for evolution, but oftentimes they work together. A mutation changes the organism, then natural selection will choose whether the mutation is good or bad, and will make a choice to kill off that specific species or make that specific species thrive. Because of the similarities of both myths, I will not spend too much time on this, and I will in fact move on to myth number 3. Myth number 3 says, the fossil record documents evolutionary changes. They claim that that notion is false, but it's a flat-out lie. Evolution does document evolutionary changes. Take the tetrapods, for example. We can clearly see how their fin bones are so similar to our own bones. So answer me this, creationist. If evolution is not documented in the fossil records, like you claim, then why is the human hand so similar to a land-dwelling fish that lived hundreds of millions of years ago? I will link below the article showing evidence in the fossil record for evolution. So, not only does the fossil record prove and document evolution, but frankly, we don't need the fossil records. We have an overwhelming amount of evidence alone from other fields that we can honestly come to the conclusion that evolution is true without it. But in conclusion, this pamphlet was riddled with logical fallacies and did not help their point at all. And if you guys want me to go over other parts of the pamphlet, just let me know in the comments, and please like and subscribe. Thank you guys.